Hi, I'm Patty Blinderman. Welcome to the ADHD-Friendly Podcast. As an ADHD coach, I have been supporting people with ADHD to use their unique brain to thrive. This week, I'm celebrating a creative win. I'm also going to update my spending and share a tip to fall asleep more easily. And then I have an exciting product of the week. Becca can probably see it. And then my main topic is looking at the creative strengths that come with ADHD. And of course, I'll wrap up with my book of the week. Let's get in and make our week a little bit more ADHD friendly. My celebration. I am creating my June course content. So I've skipped a little bit. As you guys know, I've shared before, I record these episodes 2 weeks prior to when they're released. So when you're listening to this, it's 2 weeks earlier that I'm talking about this week's information. And for me to be jumping into June is unusual.
Yeah.
But it's also because in June, I'm talking about money management with ADHD. Yeah, it's exciting, but it's also really intimidating because it's a topic I've wanted to put structure around literally since I started coaching. It comes up all the time in my coaching sessions with individual clients and in my membership. It's a constant theme that a lot of us with ADHD struggle with. So I found a fun way to start because I've always resisted tackling anything to do with money because I'm not an expert in money. And my way in is just owning that. I'm not. I struggle the same way a lot of other people. So I'm an expert in the challenges of managing money with ADHD, but not the solutions. So I found a quick way to kind of ease into that content by making a quiz.
Ooh.
I know. So it's called Discover Your Money Personality. And it has like different types, like, are you an impulsive reactor? Like, are you kind of, that impulsivity getting in the way? And that was me.
Yeah.
There's that stupid thumb on Zoom. If you're listening to this, I'm on YouTube if you want to watch the video, and you can see Zoom at its balloons. No, I thought they were going to show up because they did it a minute ago. So I'm an impulsive reactor, followed closely by the spender/fun seeker. So that definitely spoke to me because it was what's creating interest for me. I reward myself with things. They don't always, a lot of times they're little small things, which is going to lead to my fun product of the week this week. But it did give me a way in that allowed me to begin playing with some of the structure that I'm going to be offering in the membership. If you want more information about the membership, which is where that quiz will be, check out the information on my website, ADHD-friendly.com. All right, so on to what I purchased this week.
Okay.
So I got some new shoes, and these were needed. These have been on my list forever. And it's funny because I actually, like 3 or 4 months ago, walked around what is the 3-letter shoe store? DSW. I always want to say REI. I'm like, no, that's outdoors.
Love DSW.
Looking because I thought the shoes that I was replacing were Skechers. And I kept walking around looking. They look like a little like Mary Janes.
Cute.
Couldn't find them because I wanted shoes I could wear barefoot or I could wear with socks, with jeans or just in the summer though I could wear them with like capris or exactly. So I knew what I was looking for because I've had them, but I couldn't find them. And I'm walking around. They don't have anything. I'm like, gosh, Skechers doesn't make them anymore. Well, I realized this week they weren't Skechers. They were, because now they're my gardening shoes. I wear them outside all the time, and they're Clark's.
Clark's are comfy.
So comfy. So that was really loud. So comfy.
So
I went and found a super cute pair. I got them in brown. I still need a pair in black, but I'm doing one pair at a time because I have other black shoes. I have no brown shoes from spring and summer. So I got the perfect shoes and the perfect size and the perfect style. And I'm super excited. I finally found them, and I've needed these for over a year. I just kept thinking they were Skechers. And I kept thinking, well, maybe they sell them somewhere else, just not at DSW. Nope. And they were $54.95, which I thought for Clark's was
That's a good deal.
That was pretty good. Yeah. So I was excited. So I got that. And then the other thing I got, this is from Amazon, which you can get these in any store. You don't need to go to Amazon, but I'm really trying to not go in physical stores as much as I can because I'm trying to limit my impulse spending. And so I'm more intentional if I shop online, except when something's more than it is in store, unless you buy it in bulk. So this is what I bought, guys. This is my product of the week.
Ooh. What?
The Reese's chocolate lava big cup. Have you seen these bad boys?
No.
Okay, so it's 16 of these things. It's 13 of these things.
Oh my God.
I'm kind of excited that there's only 3 missing.
Yeah.
I've eaten 2 of them. I gave one of them to one of my kiddos. So I bought these. They were delivered on Friday or Saturday. It's now Wednesday.
Pretty good.
I'm super, my rule about not eating sugar on weekdays is still holding strong. But
So weekend treat.
it just has this little layer of like liquid chocolate
Oh my God.
on the bottom, like a lava cake would have.
Yes.
I don't know if it's that or if it's just the proportion. I always say it's all about the proportion of peanut butter to chocolate for me. So the big cup has such the perfect
much,
amount of peanut butter to the coating of chocolate. It's so funny because I've seen people review online, way too little chocolate, way too. I'm like, no.
You need
I like the miniature Reese's. I don't like. There's way too much chocolate to hold in a little bit of peanut butter.
Totally.
I want more peanut butter than chocolate. So this is my product of the week. This on Amazon, it was on sale. 16 of these giant big cups for $12.95. I know. And if I bought one, it was like $1.75. And I was like, no. See, I could have bought one and been done with it and had the one and enjoyed it. But I was like, oh, I need it for the podcast. I have to show it.
Yes.
And yeah, so it was regularly, I think there was $17 or $18. So if they're not on sale, if this is something you're looking at,
yeah,
I get it.
Ooh, yum.
But I also thought I could like use them for Easter's coming up. As I'm recording this, it'll be past when you hear it. So I thought, well, I can kind of use it. If I don't know, I probably won't. I'll just keep them for little rewards for me over the next couple of months. But those they're newer. They are delicious. I don't like a lot of the different Reese's, but because it's just another layer of flavor, it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, they're good. They're good. So that's my product of the week. The Reese's chocolate lava big cup. Big cup. All right. Now for my tip of the week. I love this idea. And I actually tried this because it's funny because I do it on my own, but I did it intentionally after finding this to share for this episode. It's called Take a House Tour to Support Yourself to Transition to Sleep with More Ease. So it's just a little sleep hack. This is from Real Simple Magazine. And this is what they said. Imagine yourself walking through a familiar home or a house while visiting each room and focusing on the details. So I love touring houses, but I love trying to remember my childhood home. And I try to, and I've done this very intentionally, but not to fall asleep. So what the idea behind it is, this is Dr. Leah Kay, who was quoted in this article. Kaler, I'm sorry. Dr. Leah Kaler says, the goal is to engage curiosity, gently guiding your mind away from wakefulness into sleep. She says, our brains feel safest in known environments. Revisiting a place tied to comfort and security can help ease that transition to sleep. So you don't want to picture yourself going through like the Scream house, from a movie or something. You want to picture something that has that familiarity that you feel safe and comfortable in. And for me, I have a couple of childhood homes that we lived in 3 homes when I was growing up, and I can remember all of them, but like, I love like trying to picture like, okay, then like you walk in and the stairs are to the right. So you turn and you go up the stairs, and I pictured the carpet and I remember the handrail, but there was like this one panel in the hallway that would come out. It was like wood paneled. And so it was like this secret little hidden compartment that my brother hid his magazines. But I love like trying to like remember like how many panels was it down, like literally in my mind's eye, like recreating it. And so I love this idea of thinking about it. It says usually a home from your childhood, picturing yourself standing at the entryway and opening the door. Like, does it open to the left? Does it open to the right? Is there a storm door? Like all those little details. How many steps up to the front door? Is there a peek hole? Is there a glass? Whatever it is, picturing all those details. And then they said, visit each room, notice the furniture, the pictures on the wall, So trying to remember, like, was there a sconce there? Was there a bookcase? What was on the bookcase? We had like a console TV, like the big wooden
big guy.
box TV. Remember the flooring. See if you can remember any scents. Like, did your home have a scent to it? And so then they said like special places like closets. I remember like my closet in this house I was already describing. It was like really long and narrow, and it just had a single hanging rod at the end of it that was wooden and like bracketed into the wall, so it was really sturdy. And we used to, it was a wood floor, and so we would start at the end where the door with the carpet, like just the closet was wood, the bedroom was carpeted, and we would put our socks on and run down. It was like a runway, and grab our hands onto the bar and just slide and swing. Yeah, so nothing was ever used in this closet. There was no, because you'd have to walk all the way to the back to hang things. So it was like, oh, it was like the most awkwardly designed closet, but it was great for slipping and sliding and going down. So just thinking of these things again can help ease that transition. Take a house tour to transition to sleep is the tip. So they also suggested if your home doesn't have those comfort ties, that safe feeling to it, maybe it was a friend's or a relative's house. So you want it to be a place that has that safety and happy memories attached to it. It could be a vacation home, or even, I love this, a fictional home. So maybe you read a book and like you like I like to think of like the Weasleys bungalow in Harry Potter, where you can like really picture it. So I invite you to give it a try if this is sparkly for you, to see if it helps you transition and fall asleep with a little bit more ease. And this is episode 184. If you try it out and you want to share your experience, would love to hear about it. All right, now for our topic for this week, and that is the creative strengths with ADHD. So ADHD comes with a lot of challenges. We talk a lot about those and ways to kind of build some scaffolding around them and support yourself. But it also comes with a lot of natural strengths because of our brain wiring. And I'm just going to highlight some of those and invite you to notice which of these, I have 8 I'm going to share, which of these feel like strengths to you, because understanding where your strengths are is really key to supporting the weaker areas, and also to have evidence that, okay, maybe I didn't do this well, but it doesn't mean I don't do other things well. So we can own our strengths a little bit more if we're aware of them. So the first is big picture thinking. So we often make connections that others don't see. We can kind of like cut through. I think of this as like in a conference room where people are brainstorming and people are stuck. And it's kind of like, I remember this happened a lot, even like when I worked at the Container Store, and people would have all these things and they'd be going around, and I was like, this is way too obvious. Like, I'm sure that this is like, I always assumed I was distracted and didn't hear somebody else say it. So it would get in the way of me saying the obvious solution, because I thought, I have no doubt somebody's already said this and I just wasn't listening.
Right. I'm not going to
because it's so obvious, but often it wasn't said. And I would say it to somebody afterwards and like, well, why didn't you speak up? I said, because I honestly, I got distracted. It was kind of boring. And I thought, my brain just went somewhere else. And I thought, well, clearly this is the answer, but I just assumed somebody else must have said it. And it ended up being like a way forward. So that big picture thinking can fuel problem solving and innovation. So if that's something that you know about yourself, that would be, just one of those things to notice, like what conditions support it. So like for me, it is like in that space where I'm not expected to answer. I can just be listening and let my mind wander. But then I guess I would say I'd like to be able to be like, did somebody already say something? So that I would feel comfortable saying it and not feel like, or just own the, hey, sorry, my mind was wandering and I landed on this. If it was already said, let me know, but this is what I was thinking. Yeah, because otherwise it could go unsaid. The second one is non-linear thinking. So we have ideas that might come out of order, right? So like not like in a linear space, but they might be like, oh, I could do this. And then I'd back up and I need to do this. Like we think of things out of order, but they do come to us. So this can help with brainstorming, storytelling, and improv. I always say, like, when I write emails, I told you this, like I will write like an entire email and get to the end and I'm like, oh, and by the way, how are you? And it's not that I'm not thinking, it's like, I'm so concentrated on getting the idea out that I don't want to forget why I'm emailing. That if I start with, how are you? It's not even intentional. It's just something I've noticed I do. And I'm like, I always have to like reorder the email or the paper, whatever I'm writing, I have to reorganize it after I get my thoughts out. Number 3, hyperfocus. So when our brain is engaged, we can do anything. And we can work for hours. So this can lead to really innovative creations. The only little caveat I would say to this is, what would you do to support yourself to not have that hyper focus get in the way of something else? So if you're hyper focusing and 4 hours go by like a minute, but you've missed a doctor's appointment, or you've missed a lunch with a friend, or a phone call that you were supposed to make before the doctor's office closed, or whatever. That is, what happens a lot. Or I always say I got a coaching injury when I was in coach training and I had to do a final project. I remember like so clearly, I sat on my bed and I had, the bed was made and I had all of my supplies out and I was making this very physical, visual, concrete tool, of course. And I was leaning over and I did it. I'm not kidding, like 8 hours
Oh my gosh.
where I didn't even go to the bathroom. I just sat there and sat there and sat there.
Yeah.
And I irritated like a nerve
In your back?
that it bothered me for months, that I was just like, I got a coaching injury. It's re-irritating my coaching injury. So it was just this little joke that I had, but it was like a hard lesson that I learned, that once I get going, I have a really hard time stopping. So, and that comes up a lot, like around like yard work, like things that once I start, I just want to get it done.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time stopping. And I've learned as I get older that isn't always great, even though like the coaching thing happened when I was still like super, younger.
Yeah.
And not that I'm old, but I am aging. And as we do when we get older, it's like those little, like nobody should sit still for 8 hours without moving. Like literally, I had like my leg crossed under me. And I remember like when I went to sit, they really didn't want to straighten out, and it was awful. So that hyper focus can really work, but the only little seed I'll plant there is, what would you need to support yourself to make sure if you do need to stop, or you're like, oh my gosh, it's 3 a.m. and I never went to bed.
Right. I didn't even eat.
Yeah. Eat, drink, go to the bathroom. Like a lot of like little bladder infections and things happen because we don't want to, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not even in touch with what I'm feeling. I'm just in the zone.
Yeah.
But it is a strength. So one to be aware of. Number 4 is playfulness and humor. So we often bring some levity with our creativity and some fun to problem solving.
Yeah.
So humor connects people, reduces tension, and encourages innovation. So that's another natural strength that a lot of us with ADHD have. Number 5, brainstorming. It's already come up in a few other ones. So we are great idea generators. Brainstorming, like we love to brainstorm. I always call it whiteboarding. Like, give me my blank canvas of a whiteboard, and I'm just like, I can see it all. I can just go. So we're great at thinking outside the box, which kind of ties to the first one. We're the big picture thinkers. Like we just see solutions that maybe aren't the obvious ones. Number 6, intuition and pattern recognition. So we'll see patterns and pick up on energy quickly. So we can be very empathic, where somebody is putting out an energy, nobody else may be aware of it, but we are immediately either fired up or drained by other people's, like we can just feel like, okay, there's some tension going on. I'm not quite sure what it's about,
but you
can feel it. So this can lead to rapid insights and intuitive decisions. This comes up a lot in my coaching, where like somebody might be saying something and they're sounding happy, but there's something about the way that they're saying it that I'm not quite sure if they feel the way that they're projecting that they feel.
Yeah.
And so I'll often just pause and I'll say, I just want to just check in really quickly. It sounds like this is a win, but I'm hearing some resistance or something behind it. Is there anything going on? Yeah. And almost not always, but very, very frequently there is something there. Yeah. And so like you really can learn how to trust that when you pay attention to it. Number 7, customizing solutions. So we'll create systems that work for our brain. And this is one of the biggest things I support my clients to do, and people in the ADHD-friendly membership to do, which is not try to make neurotypical solutions work for them, but to take solutions and break them apart and hold on to the things that are sparkly or that they know work for them, and then build around that with what will continue to work or what they know works for them. So this often comes from necessity or from frustration, because we're trying to do things the way other people do them. I always say, like, if you watch people get up and they just go, let's say, like, clean their bathroom because it needs to be clean because it's Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's when they clean their bathroom. And I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, it's like magic. I'm like, are you kidding me?
How are you
They
doing
just
this?
stood up and went and got the cleaner. I'm like, let me come watch. Like, what are you doing? That is magic,
Yeah.
right? Well, maybe we need to have like the cleaners out on the counter in a little caddy and set a timer for 10 minutes and just see what we can get done in 10 minutes. But if we expect ourselves to go in and clean from, ceiling to floor, it's a non-starter often. So coming up with those custom solutions so that we can get started and we can do things is really key for us. And then finally, the last one is emotional creativity. So we often have big emotions. We can become overwhelmed and feel like really down about things, or we become overexcited about things, or like sometimes like I'll be like, oh, and it's like, okay. I was like, my kids still tease me about the year my husband gave me a trash can, and I was like literally boohooing, crying. I was so happy because I wanted this trash can. I coveted it. Yeah, I just loved it. I still have it. I mean, it's just, and this is like
It's great.
more than 10 years old. Like, I love this trash can still. It has little wheels, you can roll it around. Like, it's just great. It has a little like plastic liner that you can, I love this trash can. But they teased me because it was like a disproportionate reaction for a trash can. I probably reacted about as happily as I did when he treated me to go to Italy,
Right.
and, like a surprise. And it's like, okay, but that's me. Right? So I tend to get, have big emotions. So it can fuel expressive work, and it can help us have strong emotional connections with people. So if you think about like somebody, I remember like at the International Conference for ADHD a few years ago, I went, and a very young, he was actually a coach in training when I was still leading some coach training programs for coaches who wanted to become ADHD coaches. He got up at the talent show and he wrote a poem, and he did a performance of that poem.
Oh.
I was literally in tears, and I was not alone. Like, it was like, but because he had such raw emotion and just portrayed it so authentically that it was just truly a gift. And he has ADHD and totally owned it. And his story was really about the challenges of that, and how he reached a point that he was suicidal and came back from that, and now like found his way that worked for him. But it was so beautifully done that I was just so moved by it, that it was because of how he was able to move the audience with his strong emotions.
That's incredible.
Yeah. All right. So creativity with ADHD is not random. It is literally how our brains work. So tapping into your strengths is what gives us energy. If we're only operating from our weaknesses, that's just taking all of our energy away. We want to build it up, and we do that by using our strengths. So how can you lean into your creative strengths? What would allow you to create more of that energy to help you thrive more with your ADHD? All right. Finally, the book and the quote. You're not connected. All right, this week's book of the week. I know. Sunrise on the Reaping. This is the prequel. It's the second prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy, written by Suzanne Collins. This is Hamish Abernathy's story, the 50th Hunger Games, the second quarter quell, if you're a Hunger Games fan, where they reaped 2 boys and 2 girls from each of the 12 districts. So they had twice as many not victors, twice as many, what were they called?
I know, why am I
tributes.
Thank
Than they have and ever had up to that point. And Hamish was one of the boys from his district, District 12, to be his name was called, and he had to go, and he ended up winning, which we know because he is Katniss and Peeta's mentor at the 74th and the 75th Hunger Games, which, if you haven't read the book, sorry, spoiler alert. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was a very enjoyable read. If you haven't yet read the first prequel. Which was Snakes and something Songbirds and Snakes.
I was like,
we got there together. We get there. It would be good to read that one first, because this one does build on that. And there's details in the first that would be helpful to, I was kind of surprised that you really would benefit from reading the first before you read this one. it's very similar to the first. I think I would give the first being the first prequel, about a 4 out of 5. I like the Hunger Games books more, the original Hunger Games books more than these, but these are still definitely worth reading and enjoyable. And they're making a movie out of it, which I cannot wait to see. And it's just all of the details of Hey Mitch's experience in that second quarter quell. So he's a teenager.
Exciting.
He's a good-looking guy, and it's a lot of the backstory for even like Katniss's mom, for the Hunger Games, Mockingjay Pin original story, like all of that comes out. It's really interesting. So I highly recommend that one. And then my quote of the week, this is from Maya Angelou, and Maya said, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. And I thought that really tied in nicely with the idea that we are very creative with ADHD, and using it begets more. So just, kind of like using your creativity will tap into more creativity. You're not going to run out of it. So don't feel like you have to hold on to it and shelter it. Use it, explore it, notice what works for you so that you're using your strengths to tilt that playing field and thrive with your ADHD. That's it for this episode. Until next time, tally ho.